How do data engineers manage complex SQL? As SQL queries grows bigger, they also become harder to read. Nested queries everywhere, logic repeating multiple times, debugging becomes very painful. In real-world systems, SQL is rarely one small query. Data engineers write multi-step transformations, analytical pipelines, reporting logic, and player business rules. So, the real challenge becomes how do we break complex SQL into understandable pieces? Subquery. A subquery is simply a query inside another query. Here is what SQL does internally. First, the inner query calculates the average salary. Then, the outer query compares every employee against that result. So, subqueries help SQL use one query's output inside another. How SQL executes subqueries? This is most important thing to understand. The inner query executes first. Its result becomes input for outer query. Now, here is the problem. As queries become larger, subqueries become deeply nested, and after a point, SQL starts looking unreadable. That's why engineers often prefer CTEs. CTE stands for Common Table Expression. Think of it like creating a temporary named query. Instead of deeply nesting the logic, we separate it into readable steps. That's why CTEs make SQL feel much cleaner. CTEs are heavily used in data engineering because they make queries modular. So you can break logic into steps, reuse intermediate results, and debug each step independently. Multiple CTEs, and this is where CTEs become extremely powerful. You can chain multiple CTEs together, almost like building a data pipeline inside the SQL itself. One step feeds the next. Temp tables. Temp tables are different. Unlike CTEs, temp tables actually store data temporarily. That means you can reuse them across multiple queries in the same session. Useful for large transformations, intermediate processing, and performance optimization. CTE versus temp table. Let's do a quick comparison. CTEs exist only during query execution. Temp tables temporarily store actual data. So CTEs improve readability. Temp tables help with reusable intermediate processing. Now things get really interesting. Recursive CTEs allow SQL to repeatedly reference itself. This is used for hierarchies, tree structures, organization charts, folder systems, and graph-like traversal programs. How recursion works? Recursive CTEs work in loops. It starts with an initial result, then repeatedly runs the recursive logic until no new rows are produced. The real skill is knowing when to use each approach. Subqueries are great for small logic. CTEs are best for readable step-by-step SQL. Temp tables useful for reusable heavy process. Recursive CTEs, these are perfect for hierarchies and recursive programs.